Uh-oh. Look who went to Burger King again. Got a large Coca-Cola. Don't really need it. But I have this thing about really eating bad when I'm on the road. My wife's not going to recognize me when I get home. I've put on a few pounds. Okay, so today was the knockout round of Major League Fishing's heavy hitters event. And I was paired up with Mark Davis. I'm just going to go through my day. First of all, welcome to Angling Uploaded. My name is Greg Underdahl. I am a freelance videographer for Major League Fishing. And I'm just going to go through my day. I was with Mark Davis today. And what's cool about working with Mark Davis is that I actually, way back in the day, it was like 1995, I went to Greensboro, North Carolina, and witnessed him win the Bassmasters Classic. And it's kind of cool as a fan of bass fishing to be in the boat with a guy and just see him work for the whole day. So one of the great joys of my job is being able to do that. So first off, I get up at 4 in the morning and I get all my gear ready. I head down to my to the camera room. I'm on the 4th floor here. I'm in a wonderful hotel room. It's not that wonderful. I've been in better, but it's not terrible. I've been a lot worse. In Celebration, Florida, I go down to the 1st floor. I get all my gear there. I get all my charged batteries, my camera, put it in a rental car, head to Big Toho Marina on Lake Toho, and I meet Mark Davis. So if I kind of sound like I'm exhausted, it's because I am. Actually, there was a window of time filming today where it got so hot. I'll go into detail, but I feel like my brain is absolutely fried. On the way to the ramp today, I accidentally blew through a red light. And a wonderful thing about Florida is on all of their traffic lights, they have photo enforcement. So as I'm going, I thought I could get through it. It was in a yellow, but no, I went through the red light, flash, and they took a picture of me. So that's kind of how my day started. Like in 2 weeks, I'm sure I'll get a ticket in the mail. Really sucks because when you do these events, you don't want to be losing money. You want to be earning money. Okay, so meet Mark Davis at the ramp, and first off, he's a gentleman. I usually pack all of my drinks. I have like 4 Gatorades and a little like protein pack for my lunch in a plastic bag, and usually I don't have anything to really keep it cold. And Mark was nice enough. He's like, use my cooler and I'll go get 2 bags of ice from the marina here. And that's what he did. And I'm like, dude, awesome. For the first time, I'll actually have cold beverages and my little snack pack will be cold for the first time this week. So that was very nice of him. So first thing that kind of struck me today was that Mark talked about how his bites yesterday came at moonset, and you typically don't hear, not that I've found, you typically don't hear bass fishermen talking about moon phases, moon overhead, moon underfoot, or moon set or moon rise. And he talked about how all of his bites yesterday came at moonset, which I thought was really interesting because with Major League Fishing, with the score tracker, you see these flurries that pop up for no apparent reason sometimes. Like you'll have just like, stable conditions. Sometimes you'll have this bright bluebird days, slick calm, and for whatever reason, the whole lake just comes alive and you see it happen on score tracker. And it was interesting that he said that because one of the things that I love about Score Tracker is that you can see these flurries happen now in real time. So I've been kind of interested in like maybe there is something to these salooner tables. So we had one of these little windows happen today. It happened, I'm referring to my notes right here. It happened around 10:15. And so that's Eastern time. I went to bassmaster.com. They have fishing, the best peak like fishing times, and moonset today, the June 11th, was at 11:37 a.m. So, not sure that correlates. Anybody out there that has more understanding of how these tables work, I'd be interested to know what you think. Look at June 11th, but we definitely had a flurry at around 10:15 today. So thought that was super interesting. So start off today, Mark, right off the bat, he is fishing offshore grass beds, these vast grass beds offshore on Lake Toho. And he had said that he had tried to, I'm super lightheaded right now, and I'll explain kind of why here shortly, so I'm going to have to take a drink. This is can be very, very taxing, filming these tournaments. Okay, where was I? So he was offshore, and right off the bat, right at the beginning of the tournament, Mark was fishing a lipless crankbait called a red-eye shad made by Strike King. Kevin uses the same lipless crankbait all the time. And he said that he couldn't get his bites yesterday. He could not get anything, slowly, swimming a worm through these grass beds. He said he had to use something like a triggering kind of presentation, like a crankbait. He said if he slowed down, he just wouldn't get any bites. So that's really interesting, because if you looked at the conditions today, a lot of the times it was just slick, calm, bright sun, and you would see that and you'd think, oh, you need to slow down. And it wasn't like he was ripping this lipless crankbait through this grass, but he wasn't fishing slow either. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like if you're not catching, if you know there's fish, and he was saying this a lot, and I heard many anglers say this throughout this week, that there's tons of fish in the grass. It's just like they're just not biting. When you're not catching them, it's just because they're not biting. It's not because they're not there. But if you find yourself fishing a large grass bed and you just can't get them, and it's like even bright sun, if you can't get them to bite on something slow moving, like a soft plastics, try a reaction type presentation just to trigger them. It kind of goes against maybe what the book says, but it definitely, like all day today too, guys were doing a similar kind of presentation through this grass. They were using kind of moving baits, reaction baits, and not slow bottom baits. So I found that to be very interesting. Make sure I don't forget anything here. He caught some on just a little square bill crankbait too, but his primary lure was that red-eye shad. And like I said, that feeding window occurred at about 10:15. No apparent reason. It was hot. There wasn't any wind. A number of anglers on Score Tracker just kind of had a flurry. And yeah, again, the moon set, which is typically like a thing that's important for people that follow these salooner tables and peak fishing times. The moon set was at 11:37. The peak that I noticed happened around 10:15. Be curious if anybody out there, what they think about that. It was absolutely, and this is why I'm kind of like lightheaded, and I got to kind of keep my stuff together here, because I'm on the verge of kind of passing out, to be honest. So I stand in the back of a boat, and my whole thing is, with a heavy camera on my shoulder, my whole thing is I want to be back there, and I want to have as steady a shot as possible, and I want to be rolling constantly. I want to have that camera on my shoulder as much as possible, because you never know, obviously, when a fish is going to hit. And as a fan of bass fishing, as a fan of bass fishing shows, I want to see the presentation being made, the whole thing. I want to see the presentation being made. I want to see the hook set all the way to that fish being released. So I'm always trying to stay as steady as I can and be rolling and keep a good framing as much as I can. That can be very, very taxing filming for 8 hours plus. In addition to heat, that is just, I mean, we're basically in the hottest area of the country, the most hot and humid area of the country this time of year right now. And today there was a window where the sun came out and it got super slick calm where I was so hot, and my body, there wasn't a part of my body that didn't have sweat dripping off it. Like, I looked down at my legs at one point and they were just covered in sweat and just dripping. Like, I'm not exaggerating. It was just like pouring off. Pouring is a little bit of an exaggeration, but it was just like dripping down my legs, my sweat. And luckily, that lasted for only about 20 or 30 minutes. But in that 20 or 30 minute time frame, it was like, I think, probably the hottest I've ever filmed in. And luckily, clouds started moving in. And then we had some severe weather, not severe, but we had some thunderstorm. We had one thunderstorm that came in that we had to kind of call a weather delay for a while. But thankfully, I was actually really, really glad that, those storms kind of, came in with the cloud cover, because it was just brutal. Yeah, so we had a weather delay at the beginning of the third period, and I know that for some anglers, kind of these veteran anglers, it's a bit the topic of a weather delay is a bit controversial. I think it's high time that this happens in bass fishing, and I think Major League Fishing is doing a great job with it. Can there be improvements? Sure, but all of professional sports, if there's a thunderstorm coming in, they shut it down. People take cover. They're very protective of their fans, of their crew, anybody out there. And Major League Fishing does the same thing. I know it kind of throws a wrench into some of the fishermen's plans. It's harder to produce the show when you have a weather delay. But as a person out there, when you're exposed to the elements like that, I really appreciate it that they're looking after all of us out on the water. And to me, it legitimizes what we're doing out here, because I've always believed this, bass fishing is a sport, and we need to be treating it like all other sports, all other professional sports. And if there's bad weather coming in, we need to shut stuff down to be able to make sure that people can take cover to safety if they need to. So, like I said, I know for some anglers, some of these veterans, it's not exact, it's something that they're not used to because they've fished through storms in the past. But I think it's a real positive going forward, and Major League Fishing's only going to get better at it. Unfortunately, Mark Davis didn't make the cut. He had lost, I think he was 7 pounds out of making the cut. He had lost a 4-pounder. Still had a great tournament, very close. Heck, he could have easily, got in there. He was close enough. But Mark Rose won the knockout round, so congratulations to Mark Rose. And tomorrow, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. It's championship time. This is what it's all about. Big time money on the line. And I'll be with Brian Thrift tomorrow, who is a fantastic angler, one of the best anglers in the world, and it's really awesome to watch this guy work. So excited to be in the boat with him tomorrow and then talk about my experience with him tomorrow, so make sure you tune in. If you like these videos, please like them. Please comment what you'd like to see, maybe what you think I should be talking about, how I can improve these. Keep in mind that I got to get to bed early. I'm getting to bed, getting up super early. So as far as production-wise, I'm only shooting this with my phone because I don't have any time to produce these or edit these or make these super fancy. I just want to get these out the door as quickly as possible to you. So, but if you have any ideas for things that I should be looking for, that I should be talking about, that you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, appreciate if you subscribe. That means the most to us as far as just supporting what we do. So thanks, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.